I'd like to see the chart if you have it. Could you bring it up, Howard? This is our great Secretary of Commerce, Howard Lutnick. Thanks, Howard. So, if you look at that, China, first row, China, 67%. That's tariffs charged to the USA, including currency manipulation and trade barriers. So, 67%, I think you can, for the most part, see it. Those with good eyes, with bad eyes. We didn't want to bring, it's very windy out here, we didn't want to bring out the big charts because it had no chance of standing.
Back to our channel. You're here with your host, the Conservative Bird, and your co-host, me, Double D, and you're on the Brick Road Podcast.
Welcome, everybody. Today we got some pretty good ones for you. We're going to dive a little bit into how the courts decided to rule in Trump's favor of finally deporting these gangs out of this country. It's crazy that it's come to this, to where we need to take it to court in order to do it, when the will of the people is what voted for this to happen. Trump ran on immigration as a huge thing in his talking points in all of his rallies. So the people that voted for him knew what they were voting for. The fact that these judges are trying to block it is just sad and pathetic.
That's what they do, Bird. They always resort to the lawfare, man. Here's how they do it. The Democrats have been doing this again for at least 100 plus years. When they start losing, they use the judges and the court system, which is fairly ironic because when they're on the winning side, they basically treat the Supreme Court and the judge system like second-rate citizens. So they love the lawfare when it's useful for them, but when it's not useful for them, it's all crickets.
Right, exactly. And, so we have a little bit of breaking news. It's not super breaking, but it is newer as of yesterday that, like I said, the Supreme Court finally decided to rule in Trump's favor. And it's funny, they've been ruling in his favor about a lot of different things lately, whether it's this or a couple other things that he had to take to court in order to get taken care of. I don't understand. This is the thing that doesn't make any sense to me. These liberals, these Democrats, they want us to say, hey, when you guys win, do your thing, and we're supposed to just sit by and comply and allow it. But when we win, you guys want to cry, complain, and bitch every 10 seconds about every little thing that Trump does, and not realizing that a majority of the country actually voted for what's going on.
That's right, we did. We definitely voted for it. We voted for the tariffs, which I love tariffs, by the way.
Yes.
We voted for removing illegal immigration.
Yep.
We also voted for bringing back jobs to America and evening out the playing field with the tariffs. That's really all this is about. The key word was reciprocal.
Yeah.
But with that said, obviously, this is important because they brought 174 cases against this man since he took office on January 20th. Dude, they're doing exactly what they did before. This is just the same dog whistle, man.
Not to mention before he took office, everything they tried doing to him.
For 4 years, brother.
They tried throwing him under the ground. They tried throwing him under the jail.
They were trying to throw him in prison.
They were trying to throw him under the jail.
They were hoping.
Right.
They're very lucky he hasn't taken revenge because I'll be honest, if it was me in that situation, I'd be going after all my political enemies. But this guy's actually offering out the olive branch. I mean, he had Bill Maher on his show, for lunch, dude. He wants unity. I mean, dude, the lamestream legacy media has got to stop with this fear-mongering and this fake chaos.
Right. I mean, what speaks more than unity than two people that were on the opposite side of you running against you are now in your cabinet? And we're talking about Tulsi Gabbard and RFK Jr. How is that not unity? How do you guys not understand this by now, that you guys are the ones that are on the wrong side right now? It's just evident. And this video right here, all this stuff, it just proves it. Everything that we're saying is what we wanted and is going to make this country better. Let's start off with this right here with talking about the deportation of all the gang members. We want that.
Roll, Bird.
Yeah, we want to do that.
Roll, Bird.
We want to
Let's
do
do
that.
it. We
The
definitely want
Supreme
it.
Court will allow the Trump administration to resume deporting alleged Venezuelan
Rightfully
gang members.
so.
Under a law from 1798, the migrants must get due process to challenge any removals. ABC's Perry Russum has the details.
This morning, the Trump administration celebrating a decision by the Supreme Court, allowing deportations to resume under a rarely used 18th century wartime law. The justice is lifting an order by Judge James Boasberg. Last month, Boasberg blocked the Trump administration from deporting Venezuelan migrants under the Alien Enemies Act.
We called on the Supreme Court to rein in these activist judges like Judge Boasberg, who was completely out of line in trying to say that the president didn't have the executive authority to deport foreign terrorists off of our soil.
In the Supreme Court's 5-4...
Let me say this, everybody. All right. There should be no such thing in this country as a judge that is an activist. That should not be a thing. Your judgment, your call should be completely unbiased, and that's what's wrong. There should be zero judges that are activists.
That was the Obama doing, man. He got all those activist judges. He knew that someday the Republicans were going to take back over, or at least the right of center, and in this case, the common sense party took back, the power. And Obama saw that coming. He knew that his party was going too far to the left. He knew this shit was going to hit the fan.
Yeah,
so he put in
fault.
all these activist judges so that they would have their agitators would be able to use their lawfare to enforce their anti-Trump and their Trump derangement syndrome, and also their Elon derangement syndrome, which I'm ready to call the Eat DS. Elon and Trump derangement syndrome, man. Eat DS, bro. I mean, it's like, it's off the hook, brother.
It's crazy. I just don't get it, bro. I really don't understand it.
I mean, think about it. One of these days, Bird, they're probably going to have a double D in conservative bird derangement syndrome.
Right. Yeah. Hopefully one day. Hopefully sooner than later.
Yeah. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit those notifications, people, so that we can also be in that caliber.
Yes.
decision, Trump appointee Amy Coney Barrett siding with the liberal dissenting judges. It means the Trump administration...
Wow, what an embarrassment. I knew she was going to be a bad pick when I first heard about it. This is what Trump should not have done. He should not have hired a female for that position. He needed a strong, passionate male in that position. Somebody who's going to do right by the country. These women, that's what's wrong with these women. They're so willing to side with liberals because there's so much in their feelings. We don't need feelings in government. We need just facts and straight common sense, and that's it.
We just need them to do their jobs, what the Constitution describes it as. And you know what? That would be plenty of common sense right there. But, dude, the woke mind virus, brother, it is what it is. I mean, I don't know what's worse, woke mind virus or Alzheimer's.
Shit, you tell me.
Either way, you're not thinking for yourself.
Right, that's true. That's very true.
Resume deportations under the law. The ACLU says they are disappointed by the ruling, while also claiming a victory. That's because the High Court ruled migrants deported under the Alien Enemies Act must get a chance to challenge their deportation before they are taken out of the country. Meanwhile, Chief Justice John Roberts issuing an order in the case of Kilmar Abrego Garcia, a deported Maryland man, pausing a midnight deadline last night for the Trump administration to return Abrego Garcia. The administration has conceded Abrego Garcia should not have been deported after he was mistakenly put on a plane with more than 200 alleged gang members because of an administrative error. Abrego Garcia denies being a gang member, but the Attorney General stands by deporting him.
ICE has testified, members of ICE, that he is an MS-13 gang member.
Well, I mean, I'm not going to take the word of an MS-13 gang member to tell me that he's not a gang member over the words of the people that are deporting the gang members. I'm sorry. I'm not taking his word. If they're saying he's a gang member and ICE is testifying saying that he's a gang member, People don't just go and testify over stuff like that. They're willing to say that they made a mistake. This dude's obviously got something to hide.
Well, I know this. I mean, from what I understand, from what I've read, is he did have tattoos that represent the MS-13 gang.
Right.
Now, if that's true, then he is technically a domestic terrorist. And
Yeah.
I understand he has a wife and a child here. I understand that. They're both American citizens. But if Garcia turns out to actually be an MS-13, then if they bring him back to the United States, let's just say, because I think what's going to end up happening is I think they're going to bring him back here and reevaluate it, just because it's better to do that and save face in the long run. But that's an easy one to check. If he's got that tattoo, I don't give a shit what he says he is.
Yeah, he's gone.
And I understand he's a teacher who teaches Spanish kids or something like that down in Maryland, right? In Baltimore, is that correct?
I didn't look too much into it. You might be right, though.
I mean, so if that's the case, and he was doing a job that really did service to community, then let's give the system, not him, but let's give the system the benefit of the doubt to find out if it's true or not. If it's not true, well, then a path to citizenship would still be necessary.
Yep.
This whole getting married and having a kid, that don't grandfather you in no more.
I don't think it should.
That went out with the 2000s and the late 90s. So those days are gone.
I think they need
marrying an American is not going to do it.
Right.
The temporary block by Justice Roberts gives the Supreme Court more time to consider his case, as Abrego Garcia's family begs for his return to the U.S.
Kilmer, if you can hear me, I miss you so much.
Perry Russum, ABC News, Washington.
Those tears don't mean nothing to me, though, honestly, because
I don't even. You saw tears?
Yeah, they were crocodile tears.
I didn't see any tears.
They were crocodile tears.
She's feeding into the media, and she's just hoping that her gangbang and husband will get returned.
So for the people wondering why this is a good thing to deport these people, I mean, look at this right here. We had this right here with the gangs taking over Colorado a couple months ago. This is
crazy.
This is more than enough proof to say we need to get rid of these scumbags.
And new at 10, it's scenes coming out of a movie as the Venezuelan gang Tren de Aragua are seen breaking into apartment complexes in Colorado. This is according to our sister station in Denver. There you can see the group well armed and forcing an apartment door open and making their way in. This has raised concerns amongst residents and Colorado state law enforcement officials. The city of Aurora is issuing a statement today in the wake of national attention following the video's release. As we've reported in the past, Tren de Aragua.
I mean, think about that, right? You guys really, liberals, you guys really want this? You want that in our country?
They do. They do. You know why? Because they think that someday they're going to be Democrat voters.
Yeah.
Which is ironic because Hispanics traditionally, they traditionally are 50-50.
Right.
And it doesn't matter if they're black, white, brown, yellow, Hispanics, Latinos, whether they're from Philippines or whether they're from the Dominican or whether they're from Cuba, they're almost always a Republican because Cubans vote Republican.
Yeah.
There's a reason why Ronald Reagan gave them amnesty.
Yeah.
But
for sure. Well, they're completely.
But they tend to vote conservative because they were fleeing communism.
Yeah, they fled it.
A lot of these other Latino countries are just beginning to experience socialism and communism in the last 20 years. Now they're running too. But Venezuela, they emptied out their prisons and said, go to America.
Right.
So you know what? I'm sorry.
No, I'm good.
Locking them up and keep docking them on those boats and get them out of here.
Yeah, I'm cool with that. Get them on these planes, get them on these boats, get them out of our country.
If Garcia turns out to be a mistake, so be it.
Right.
We'll take him back and we'll demand probably, if he's sitting in the worst prison on the planet right now and it turns out to be an accident, then yes, we admit that we were wrong. We'll bring the man back to America, but he still has to take the path to citizenship.
Right.
I'm sorry. I don't.
I'm 1,000% agree. Now
they should not. They should never be giving the citizenship away. It's too valuable.
You talking about that, Double D, brings us to this, right? So now Trump's asking them to not return him. There's something going on. I'll guarantee there's more to this guy's story than what him and his crocodile family's actually saying. But
oh, absolutely.
and we already know this is from NBC, so we know they're going to spin it in their liberal narrative way. But let's see what they have to say.
Today is the deadline for the Trump administration to bring back a Maryland man who was accidentally deported last month to a high-security prison in El Salvador.
29-year-old Kilmar Albrego Garcia is originally from El Salvador, but has lived in the United States since 2011. He is a legal resident. He has...
That doesn't necessarily make him a completely legal resident. 2011 isn't born here.
No, and he was only granted protected legal status in 2019.
Right.
Now, that was under the last Trump administration. I mean, yes, he has no criminal record in the U.S.
Right.
I want to see what his criminal record from Venezuela is.
I'd like to see it too.
Or El Salvador. Well, no, he's Venezuelan, but he's in El Salvador right now.
Right, for sure.
Record. Both his wife and his son are U.S. citizens. NBC News senior Homeland Security correspondent Julia Ainsley joins us now. Julia, this case has sent just a chill through so many American communities looking at people who have deep ties in this country, who have legal ties in this country, and who have no criminal records. The Trump administration has conceded that this deportation was, in fact, an administrative error. But just in the last hour, the White House attorneys asked the Supreme Court to jump in and essentially block his return. Where do things stand now by this deadline at midnight?
Yeah, that's right. It's looking more and more unlikely that they will meet that deadline. Of course, we know that he came through and March 15th. He was deported to El Salvador. They say it was an administrative error because what he had, and when you look at that 2019 protected legal status, that's something called a withholding of removal. It's not permanent. It's not like a green card. It's certainly not like U.S. citizenship, but it allowed him to have work authorization. And if he checked in every year with ICE, as he did, he could stay here and be blocked from deportation because a judge determined that sending this man to El Salvador would be harmful for him. It actually is a higher bar than achieving asylum, though it is temporary. So he was here under that. There was a time where an informant told the Justice Department that he may have been part of MS-13. They were never able to prove that. And what his lawyers are arguing now is that if they wanted to deport this man, they should have gone through due process to have that withholding of removal taken away from him. Instead, they didn't. And now they're saying it was an administrative error. And the Justice Department is now fighting this. The Solicitor General, the new Solicitor General, just told the Supreme Court that they cannot meet this arbitrary deadline. And they want this.
I feel like that the liberal media is lying. I'm sorry. I feel like this lady's lying.
Yeah,
I feel like she's not telling us something that's a key element to the case.
I'm not going to defend the lamestream legacy media, but they may not know. They realistically may not know that. And, right now, the Trump administration is very careful about what they allow to be leaked to the mainstream media.
Yeah, they've been really holding down on that a lot lately.
But I am going to say something, because I know it's probably to our viewers, they probably think I'm actually defending this guy, and I'm really not. So, I mean, I'm just saying if it was a clerical administrative error,
I'm fine. Bring him back.
Then bring him back and let's do the due process.
Right.
But for some reason, I just think there's something that we're not being told yet, because why would an attorney general or not attorney general, why would the prosecutor want to stop him coming back unless he has some knowledge of something that's really serious?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And if he don't, well, I mean, what's a couple more days, honestly?
Right. So my overall take with all this is I'm 1,000% cool with all the immigration going on. Obviously, mistakes are going to happen, and if this is a mistake, which it doesn't really seem like it to me, for reasons being is they're asking to not bring him back, so there's something going on with that.
There's something going
to where
on for sure.
They're not telling us something about him that is a key element to all this. So I'm a wait and see.
Prison record in Venezuela. That's what I'm thinking. I'm thinking he's got a prison record.
It might be possible. I'm a wait and see on this situation. But other than that, getting rid of all of these gangs, I am so glad that the Supreme Court finally ruled in the favor of Trump on this, because that was needed.
I mean, overall, that was definitely, like this one mistake is one mistake, but there's still 249 for sure sitting in that prison that we know for sure were MS-13 and Trende Aragua or whatever they call it.
Trende Aragua.
Trende Aragua. Well, whatever they call it, who cares? I mean, they didn't come to America to contribute to our culture or contribute to our well-being.
They're bringing us down, actually,
or to contribute to building prosperity and peace in America. No, they came here to destroy it, and they were leaving their country that was already destroyed by communists and socialists. So
exactly.
I mean, you know what? If this, like I said, if Garcia's innocent, and
hey, bring him back.
The truth will come out on that sooner or later.
Yep.
But I can understand the prosecutor saying, "Hey, no, put the brakes on for a minute. I need time."
Yeah, and you know what?
Because
I'll even go.
If he is MS-13, he's going to absolve right back into the population. It could be another decade before we find him.
You know what, Double D? You won't hear me say this very often. I will say this: if it is true that this guy is not in the MS-13, if he's not a gang member, if he was just here, I think he should be granted lifelong citizenship here.
I still think he should do the process too, but he could at least have legal status.
Yeah, for sure. Okay, so
I don't think he should have the citizenry right to vote though, without without any knowledge of how our system works. You know what I mean?
Right,
like
for sure.
Our political system is, it's not complicated, but it isn't simple either. So.
Right. All right. So we touched on that enough.
Yeah, I think so. I would say that we definitely crossed that bridge with that one.
Before we get into our next topic, though, let's have a word from one of our sponsors. Let's talk about the NRS. The NRS is the #1 retail solution that your small business needs. The NRS customized point-of-sale system will help speed up checkout, simplify inventory management, and they even offer a secure NRS payment with credit card processing. For more information, please contact William R. Anderson, Jr., the authorized NRS distributor, or go to their website, www.wrajrplus.com. Again, that address is www.wrajrplus.com, or just give them a call at 216-260-4906. Again, that number is 216-260-4906. And please make sure to let them know that the Conservative Bird and Double D sent you. All right, everybody, welcome back. So, next thing we want to talk about, the big topic lately is the tariffs. Everybody's talking about the tariffs. How it's going to negatively impact us, how this is going to ruin our economy, and it's just not. They're talking about the stock market, how it made the stock market crash, but guess what? The stock market's going right back up like it always does. This is what it does. It goes up, it goes down, it goes up, it goes down. That's the whole point. You buy and sell at certain situations.
Well, here's what
this is how you make your money.
You had a bunch of powerful billionaires this time that decided to pull their money out of the market real fast.
Yeah.
And see where the direction was going to go. And they wanted to see which way the wind was going to blow.
Yep.
And they all put it back in today, basically.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
They basically put it all back in and said, you know what? We're panicking for no reason. The key word is reciprocal.
Right. So a lot of people don't really know what tariffs are. Tariffs are basically percentage taxes based upon where you are and what the product is, and how usually it's how hot the product is, which is how much somebody needs it. They tend to tariff a little bit more. It's a supply and demand type of thing. So these countries have been tariffing us for years and years and years while we continue to go trillions of dollars in the deficit. And, you know, we need a president that says, hey, no more of it. We're done. We're done. Yeah, it's time for us to get ours back, because we're the thriving. We're supposed to be the thriving country in this world.
Well, I mean, basically, here's what's been happening. Okay, so essentially, a tariff is a tax that their country puts on the goods that we import to them, correct?
Yep,
and vice versa.
Vice versa.
Well, we've had an open, free trade with the world.
Right.
Now, the North American Free Trade Agreement made that so there would be no tariffs between Mexico, Canada, and the United States, which is fine. But the reason Trump's using the tariffs on them is because he wants them to stop the illegal immigration coming across the border.
The
with
fentanyl,
Nicaragua
and the
MS-13,
fentanyl.
And the fentanyl. So he's using that tactic. So I think ultimately in the end with the United States, Mexico, and Canada, I think we're going to go back to a free trade situation there. And
Yes.
that's fine. Those are our neighbors.
Right.
Now, Europe, on the other hand, is
Right.
across the ocean.
Yeah.
And Europe, Germany, France, they don't really have militaries.
Right.
They rely on our military. So my question is, we got homeless veterans who have basically are on call for these countries, but they can't afford their own health care and their own benefits, and a lot of them are homeless. Meanwhile, we've got people over in France and Germany and have free health care, free education, free social whatever benefits they can get their hands on.
Right.
And they have an immigration population that's soaking those benefits.
Yep.
And meanwhile, we're paying to
For all of
protect them while they enjoy what Americans don't. So you know what?
Yep. It's time for us to get ours back.
I'm so done with Europe at
Yeah.
this point.
Yep.
Honestly, let Britain be their army.
Right.
Seriously.
For sure.
Let Keir Starmer take over. You want all the freebies, but you guys want to tax us into oblivion for buying their stuff from them? You know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly. No, I agree.
We're not charging them to buy anything from them, but they're charging us out the wazoo. And just for the record, Obama was for 50% tariffs on China back in 2012.
Hey.
So don't let these Democrats BS us. They love tariffs. They love tariffs. They're just mad that Donald Trump is the one implementing it.
Yeah, but it's not them.
It's not them. If it was Joey B. or Chuck Schumer, 20 years ago, Chuck Schumer was so pro-tariff. Not even 20 years ago. Now all of a sudden, he's a menace to society. You know what, Chuck?
Yeah.
Eat one, brother.
Yeah.
Eat one, brother, Chuck.
So, all right. So here, this guy decides to break down a little bit about Trump's tariffs and what he wants to do. So
let's give it a listen.
Let's check it out.
It was quite a spectacle in the Rose Garden yesterday. President Trump spent at least 45 minutes or an hour speaking, some scripted, some not scripted. There was a bit of a MAGA rally sort of a vibe about the whole thing. There was a group of 20 or so.
I love my charts, beautiful charts. I sleep with it at night. I give it a kiss at night. I love my beautiful tariff charts.
They're so beautiful. I love it. I wish I could do the Trump. I can't do Trump. I wish I could though.
You got to take your hands.
Gillis, Shane Gillis and that little dude. What's his name again?
Tyler something.
Tyler Fisher. Yeah.
Yeah.
Ty Fisher. Man, Ty Fisher. And,
I love tariffs.
I love tariffs. I love tariffs.
I love my boards of tariffs.
Yeah, him and Shane Gillis, man, they are the Trump gods when it comes to that.
That's
You know what I mean? They nail it every time.
I didn't mean to do that. Sorry.
That's all right.
Shane Gillis actually was just on Kill Tony as Trump.
Dude, he's probably the best Trump impression ever. There's no question. Hands down, nobody better.
So
you know
great.
what I mean?
So great.
Automakers who were there, and it was, it was a bit of a. There was almost his full cabinet was there. Vice President Vance was there, and as he spoke, the world came to grips with the fact that this wasn't just going to be a flat rate across the board. It was going to be many different tariff rate numbers depending on which country we're talking about. China got hit with 50. China now faces. If China's imports into the U.S. face a 54% tariff.
For a minute, I want to say something about the China tariff thing. Just so people understand, China has always highly tariffed us. Now, here's the thing. We provide them the raw materials, the iron ore, and a lot of the refined oil that are oil byproducts that they use to make plastics with. All right, we supply them with that.
Okay.
And they in turn around and they build it cheaply with slave labor.
Yeah,
all right, so they can afford this.
which people don't want to admit happens in China. There is literally still slave labor, literally in these Nike sweatshops. Slavery.
So, and with that said, so let's say they sell a product to us for $10, which if we made it here in America would probably be $20 because, you know, we pay our workers a little better than, well, slaves don't get paid nothing but food and water. So you do the math. It's all profit. So, you know, so basically, let's just say we buy a product from them for $10 and when they sell it to us, we don't charge them anything for selling it to us.
Right.
But you know, they actually put an export tax.
Yeah.
On the products that they send to the United States.
Yes.
And sometimes they're as high as 50%. So now you're paying $15 for that product.
Right.
So by the time it hits the retail market, it's now $20.
20, yeah,
so
maybe
why not
even
just
20.
make it in America?
Right, for sure. And that's why right here it says China's getting hit with the 54% tax. Europe, 20%, Vietnam, 46%.
They're making 50% on us, and then whatever we export. Now, keep in mind that iron ore and those oil byproducts that they use to make the plastics and the steel goods and sell them back to us, they're charging us 54% to sell that to them in tariffs. So you know what?
It's time for us to get ours back.
Reciprocal, people, that's the key word.
Yep.
Don't let the lamestream media convince you any differently.
This is meant to get these places that make these products to bring it back to the United States and make it over here.
Absolutely. Yeah, because it ends up being close to the same price anyway. And truth be told, American products are built better.
1,000%. That's a 1,000% fact.
Whereas 2 months ago, you know, that number was 0. So we have gone from you know, kind of 0 to 60 kilometers an hour, you know, in terms of the effect on the global economy. So yeah, it was interesting to watch the market reaction as Trump spoke. All the market knew was the 10% baseline rate, and then eventually, once it absorbed all the other numbers, the much higher numbers, you know, stocks turned down. So, you know, the sentiment really kind of whipsawed there in the aftermath of it.
We heard from the U.S. Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent. He spoke to Bloomberg shortly after the announcement, warning against retaliation. But already we're seeing other countries ramping up their response to this as well. Talk us through some of the responses we've heard.
Yeah, so far we've heard. So one of the few areas to avoid a big hit was Canada and Mexico. Canada, they already have they're under another sort of tariff regime, so they did not get hit with these reciprocal tariffs, and so you would think that there would be room for negotiation there. And Doug Ford, a Canadian politician, said he would urge the Prime Minister not to retaliate. So maybe there's some room for negotiation.
What are they going to retaliate with?
They're not. They're going to negotiate and they're going to reevaluate.
We're the strong ones.
Yeah, there's not going to be a free trade with Europe anymore, is what it's going to come down to. And China, well, China's going to call our bluff, and that's fine.
Yeah.
Let them call it. It's all going to break even with them in the long run anyway.
Yep.
As far as Europe goes,
oh well,
it's time for them to pay their share.
Yeah.
They can no longer rely on American blood, sweat, and tears to bail them out financially, to bail them out socially, to bail them out militarily. We are done.
Exactly.
There, we heard a similar kind of tone from Japan, who said this was regrettable, but we look forward to sitting down with the Trump administration and working through this. The European Union, as you mentioned, was out very early this morning saying we have a big response if talks fail. So they are leaving the door open. You know, never has there been a better telegraphed beginning of a trade war than April 2nd, 2025. So the EU could have come back immediately with a package of retaliation, but they came in this morning and they said, we'll will give talks a chance. So those are the three between Asia, North America, and Europe. There seems to be a tone of, okay, let's sit down. This is the worst case scenario, but let's try to talk through it.
Yeah, and we're getting fresh.
I'm cool with that. Definitely try to talk through it.
And it's better for them to try to talk it out with us and renegotiate the terms, because otherwise they're going to be speaking Russian in about 15 years. And Chinese. I mean, just saying, man, I call it like it is. I'm brutally honest. I'm brutally honest, Europe, because if you don't have our help, there ain't a single country, including England, that's going to stop Putin. And he's going to own your goddamn continent. So I think, yeah, y'all better negotiate.
Better. So,
come to the table. Come to the table. Come to the table or lose the stable.
CNBC, they want to tell us how Trump's tariffs will affect the U.S. economy. And I don't think we watched this yet, but I'll guarantee they say it affects us negatively. 1,000%.
Of course they are. Let's see what their spin is. Let the clip roll, Bird.
CNBC's Steve Leisman is here with us to break it all down. Also with us, Erica York, Vice President of Federal Tax Policy at the Tax Foundation. It's great to have you both here. So let's just back up, Steve, for a second. The formula, as mentioned, this is laser focused on goods. It doesn't matter if we want to service a surplus with the other country. This is about the trade deficit in goods, and whatever happened earlier this week is not a barometer, it seems, for this announcement.
Yeah, I don't want to start off in a caustic way, but you asked, is that calculus? To a lot of trade experts, Kelly, it's gibberish. That's really the problem. When this thing came out, my initial reaction was to, be a reporter. And I called up these trade experts, including one we're going to talk to in a second. And I said, have you ever heard of this? And they said, no. Do you know anybody who's ever used this formula to determine the trade burden or onus or whatever? And everybody said no. What's interesting is, here's the White House comment. I don't know if you guys have it. No, not the formula. Here's the comment where if you look at what they say, I don't know if I have it in front of me, but it says that we used something that's been used in a lot of other times and places. But they just made it up, Kelly. Nobody's ever heard of it. There it is. Ever heard of it? There it is. I want to emphasize, said a White House official, that these tariffs are customized to each country, and the numbers have been calculated by the Council of Economic Advisors using very, very well-established methodologies from the National Trade Economic Literature, but nobody's ever heard of it, Kelly. So,
rightfully so, though. I agree with us taking the tariffs and making them for each country different, because we treat them the same way that they treat us.
Exactly. It's the golden rule.
Right.
Do unto others as you want done unto you.
Exactly. So I don't understand what people are whining, crying, and bitching and complaining about.
If they don't want to be tariffed into oblivion, then they
might want to oblige.
Yeah. Follow the golden rule.
I think they made up that statement and they made up that formula.
And I know that people are making a lot of that, but to me, it's like we're embarking on a once in 100.
It doesn't matter what you think. It's just what the truth is.
Formula. If the formula works, it don't matter who made it up.
Right. It works.
We're going back to.
Here's the thing. Before we had an income tax, we were a tariff-driven federal government.
Exactly.
Do you realize we actually made more money for the country at that time as a tariff-driven economy as opposed to a tax-driven economy?
I wouldn't doubt it, because it takes the burden out of the everyday person and puts it on the people, the people that are shipping the products in.
I don't know if I told you this, but I did the numbers. I pulled up Google's information for the average tax paid by an American family.
Okay.
The average of a household of $175,000 per year. The average family pays over $3,000 in income tax and $10,000 in Social Security tax.
Okay.
So the average household of $175,000 a year in America pays $13,000 a year in federal taxes of some sort, whether it be Social Security or the income tax. Now, with the tariffs, according to CNN, and this was an article they put out right before they went on their hell-raising anti-Trump, anti-tariff raid.
Yeah.
Before that, they said that the cost of the tariffs was going to cost the normal American family $2,000 to $2,200 a year more. Now do the math.
Yeah.
Do away with the IRS and go to a tariff system.
Yeah.
Now Americans are saving $11,000 a year.
Yeah, dude, it's just
$11,000 a year into the pockets of American families. If they do away with the IRS and go to a tariff system, this the mainstream media will not tell us.
Yes.
And you can Google that information. I got all that information from Google and CNN.
Yeah. So, hey, you know, I'm with letting these people cry because to me it's funny watching them bitch and complain about something they don't know anything about.
The thing about it, Democrats have always been about the tariffs. That's what I don't understand. They're actually getting something that they wanted. I mean, Barack Obama, man, I mean, dude, he would have, you know, he would have divorced Michelle to get those tariffs in 2012.
Now he's just divorcing her for Jennifer Aniston.
There you go. Well, that's a good. I mean, I would dump Michelle for.
That's actually a huge upgrade. Shout out to Obama for that one.
Yeah, you know, I got to give the man a prop, dude.
Right.
You got to give him props.
The way things were, you heard.
He's still got that smooth coolness about him.
That's funny.
In the speech, pre-1930.
Yeah.
But I do think he's
So of course we're kind of making up.
What the heck? Yeah. For sure.
Did the video tweak on us?
There's not really a playbook for this.
Well, here's the thing, Kelly. You and I and the entire all of Wall Street and the country, we were braced for something that might resemble and might be defensible, if arguable, as reciprocal tariffs. These are not reciprocal. These are essentially non-reciprocal punitive tariffs, including, it looks like, according to this Newsweek article, on a chunk of British ocean territory, Diego Garcia, where there's a U.S. military base, they're also been tariffed.
Listen, they've been bad actors. No, let me sort of raise what I also think.
You see how CNBC tries to spin things like they try to take something positive and make it completely negative.
They're trying to say that the reciprocal tariffs aren't reciprocal. Numbers don't lie. CNBS, what CNBS?
Let's call them CDNC. We'll call them that.
Yeah, the
CDNC.
CNBS.
That's another one.
They are full of a lot of it for sure. Numbers don't lie, but you know who does lie?
The liberal media.
Journalists from the liberal media, Democrat politicians, and half the rhinos too.
Yeah.
They're all. I mean, the rhinos who are up against, who are against us are all. Those are truly the billionaires who are looking to stay. Dude, this whole Schumer was saying that the tariffs are a tax on the poor and a tax break for the rich.
Right.
That is so. How is that a tax break for the rich?
No.
If we're still paying the tariffs, we've been paying them all along.
Right.
A tax break?
Not at all.
Getting some of the taxes back. That's not a tax break. Let's go break it even.
So
you go to Vegas and break even, you didn't win anything.
So as much as the liberal media is crying about the tariffs and how it's going to ruin this country and how it's going to look bad for us with other countries, Trump actually got over 50 countries, and from what my buddy said earlier, now it's 70 countries to want to strike a deal with the U.S. Meaning, guess what, guys? The tariffs are working.
At least the threat of it is.
Yep. So let's check this out.
What happens when the world's largest economy decides to tax nearly every country on the planet? Markets plunge, leaders panic, and over 50 nations scramble to Washington, desperate to cut a deal. This isn't a scene from a movie, it's happening right now. President Donald Trump has just set off a global tariff storm, and countries are either retaliating or rushing to the negotiation table. So what's Trump's game plan? And who is winning or losing in this high-stakes trade chessboard? Let's break it down.
Okay, they're going to break it down a little.
For a second, I got to say this. I hope that Trump keeps his butt really, really clean, because there's about 50 world leaders who are ready to kiss it.
Yeah, for sure. Without a doubt. You know damn well that a lot of these world leaders, that this tariff is going to really hurt their country. And Trump's we've had enough of it. We finally have a leader in office that is willing to put his foot down.
It's one of those, I hope you wash your ass today, because there's 50 kings who want to kiss it.
Yep.
China, first row. China.
US President Donald Trump's decision to impose sweeping tariffs has stunned global markets. On Saturday, a baseline tariff of 10% on all imports came into effect. But that's just the start. For many countries, the tariffs go much higher. From 26% on Indian goods to 54% on Chinese imports, 50% on Lesotho's exports, and even 46% on Vietnam. These numbers are more than economic penalties. They are a global wake-up call.
Yep.
On Monday, April 7, Trump compared...
That's exactly what it is, you guys. That is exactly, this is a wake-up call. We're not the pushover.
Europe and Asia.
We're not
Wake up,
pushovers.
Europe and Asia.
We're not allowing you to push us over anymore. It's not happening.
We have a new sheriff in town.
Yep. And we're
and his name is Donald J. Trump.
and it's not just him. He's setting the trend. This is a new trend now.
Yeah, his deputies are just as capable.
Yep, this is a trend of new conservatism. So just watch out.
Yes, it is.
Compared these tariffs to medicine. Speaking from Air Force One, he said, and I quote, "I don't want anything to go down, but sometimes you have to take medicine to fix something." End quote.
That's right.
The statement rattled markets across Asia. Stocks plunged as investors braced for a drawn-out trade crisis. According to White House economic advisor Kevin Hassett, more than 50 countries have already reached out to negotiate, realizing they are the ones bearing the brunt of the tariffs.
India, very tough. Very tough. Prime Minister just left. And he's a great friend of mine, but I said, "You're a friend of mine, but..."
India has found itself facing...
This isn't business, or this isn't personal. This is business.
Yeah.
Our country's a business.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. That's right. And you know what? They have been in the business of ripping us off for a pretty long time.
Very long time.
You know, it's time to pay the piper, Europe and Asia.
Yep, we get
pay the piper.
It's time for us to get our get back.
And if you don't, learn your Russian. You're going to need it.
There you go.
A 26% tariff on its exports to the US, and instead of retaliating, New Delhi is choosing diplomacy. Officials describe the tariffs as a mixed bag and say India will not strike back, but will talk. The advantage, India already has a head start. Trade talks with the US have been ongoing since February. The aim is to finalize a deal by autumn 2025. India is also...
And I seen, it's not on this video, I don't think, but I seen Javier Milei from Argentina. He's already met with Trump, and they're doing away with their tariffs on us, so we do away with their tariffs on them. So
that's how reciprocal works. You don't charge us, we don't charge you.
Right.
I don't understand it. It ain't rocket science, man. The numbers don't lie.
No.
I don't understand it, dude. If this was anybody but Trump coming up with this idea, they would be all on board. But because the pointy heads of the planet and America's top elite can't get their shit together, and this businessman from New York came in and said, "Let me show you how it's done."
Yeah,
people.
and he's been saying he's going to do this for a long time. He's been saying he's going to do this for a long time. So
yes, he has. That's what we voted for.
Yeah, we voted for it.
Find a clause in Trump's order that allows relief for countries that make significant steps to fix non-reciprocal trade. That could work in India's favor. In fact, India has already shown goodwill. It's reduced tariffs on US luxury bikes and bourbon and removed a 6% tax on digital ads that affected American tech firms. Talks are on the table, and India is positioning itself as a corporate partner. Vietnam and China, two of Asia's biggest exporters, have taken completely different paths.
Okay.
Hit with a 46% tariff, Vietnam is appealing to Washington to delay its reciprocal tariffs, scheduled to kick in on April 9. In a meeting between Vietnam...
Oh, wow. So these tariffs are going to go into place soon.
Hey, tonight at midnight.
Yeah, tonight.
I have now. By the time this airs on Friday
afternoon, they're already hit.
It'll already have hit. But I just want to say this to Vietnam: if you don't want to pay 46% in tariffs,
don't charge us.
It's time to stop charging us. It's time to stop charging us. Either that, or hey, yeah. I mean, other than price. They don't have a whole lot.
Right. If you're not going to pay, if you don't want to pay it, then don't pay it. But don't expect to get hit. Don't expect us to pay it
Why
either.
why should we give them 46% for their rice? We could grow rice in Georgia. We don't need to import that from them.
Exactly.
It's Vietnam's clothes and rice are their biggest exports to the United States, by the
Right.
way. You know that, right?
Yeah.
Basically denim, which we supply the materials
And they make it over there.
for them to make it and turn around and give it back to us at 46% tariffs. And then rice, dude, we could grow rice in Mississippi, Louisiana,
Very true.
Texas, Georgia, Florida, pretty
Everywhere.
much any state in the union.
Yeah.
Pretty much.
So yeah, they need to either just go with it or they're gonna learn the hard way. That's the way I look at it.
I mean,
They're gonna look.
they could do all their trading with China. I'm sure China would be more than happy to buy some of their rice and denim.
Exactly.
British Prime Minister and the US Ambassador
Exactly.
Hanoi even offered to slash its own tariffs on US imports to zero. Their approach is coordinated and
Slash them to
urgent.
zero.
Vietnam's special envoys visiting both the US and Cuba from April 6 to 16, trying to reach a deal before damage is done. Beijing isn't backing down. After the US slapped a massive 54% tax on Chinese goods, China hit back with 34% retaliatory tariffs on American imports. This could escalate into another full-blown trade war.
Okay.
Meanwhile,
Hey, we're ready
Taiwan
for
is
it.
showing restraint. President
You know what that means? We don't just bring in a bunch of shitty products from China anymore.
You know
That's
what
all.
else it means? It also means we don't give them the iron ore that they need to make those shitty products.
Right.
We don't give them the oil byproducts that are necessary to make plastics.
Right.
So if they want to do that, they're
Yeah.
going to have to find someone else to supply their plastics and their iron ore for their shitty products.
Yep.
Lai
Because
Ching-te has refused.
they have the worst quality control in China, man.
Oh, dude, it's
I
terrible.
actually used to work with a company called GAC Enterprise back in the early 2000s.
Okay.
And all I did was the shipping and handling. 50% of everything that came to this country we either had to quality control it and fix it ourselves, or we had to return 50% of it. And it was always 50% or more.
That's
Their
wild.
products are garbage because how much quality you get out of free labor?
It's true.
You know what I mean? I mean, they don't care about me. I mean,
Yeah, they don't care. It's more like 10,000. Yeah, they make 10,000 of them and
They're
charge.
going to make 10,000 tomorrow, and then they're going to make 10,000 the day after, and they're not going to make squat while they're sitting in the sweatshop making it. So you think they care about quality?
No, not at all.
To impose counter tariffs and instead proposed zero tariffs on both sides. Taiwan has also promised to boost US pound investments, signaling it wants friendship, not a fight. Indonesia too has chosen diplomacy. Facing 32% tariffs, its economic minister said Jakarta would send a delegation to the US to talk directly with the Trump administration.
Okay.
It's not just Asia. Across the world, governments are rushing to Washington with offers and olive branches. Israel is negotiating hard. Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu is expected to meet Trump directly. Israel faces a 17% tariff that could hurt exports of medical equipment and machinery. In Europe,
Oh, but I thought he was Netanyahu's bitch. He's
Trump?
no Trump. He's Netanyahu's bitch. Then why would he tariff Israel?
Oh, yeah, dude. He already told Israel, you guys are paying it too. Dude,
The hell?
Nobody.
Yeah,
Except
these
for
people are
possibly-
blind.
I mean, possibly Canada and Mexico are going to be the only countries that in the
Yeah,
end are
but we're-
exempt, because all they have to do is agree to cut the immigration and the fentanyl, and they're going to.
Yeah, for sure.
They're gonna agree to that. And they're
Mexico always caves to Trump when it comes to these situations.
Yeah. Well, I think deep down inside, the Mexican people like Trump.
Yeah, they do because they see that he's like a hard nosed, gets
Yeah,
it done, and he lets people know.
They got a female globalist who's our president right now, and she's as weak as they come, dude.
Crazy.
I was wrong though. She wasn't born in America. She was born in Mexico.
Okay.
She was just born to an American family.
I got you. So she's
Yeah,
an
but
she's an anchor
she's a
baby of Mexico.
She's an anchor baby of Mexico.
Okay, I like it.
Countries like Italy and Spain are urging the EU to avoid confrontation. Italian Prime Minister Giorgia Meloni, though critical of the tariffs, has stressed diplomacy over a trade war. Zimbabwe, hit with 18% tariffs, has suspended duties on US goods in a bid to win goodwill. President Emerson says this could help grow both US imports and Zimbabwean exports. Lesotho, a small African nation facing 50% tariffs, is sending a delegation to the US to plead its case. At the same time, it's looking to diversify trade markets beyond the US. Trump's tariff policy is being described as reciprocal tariffs, essentially penalizing countries that the US believes have been enjoying unfair trade.
How is reciprocal 90?
Penalizing us.
How is 90% and 46% reciprocal?
It's not. It's not. It's not. Now, there might be some reasons for why it's not 100% reciprocal with some of those countries.
Yeah.
There might be other benefits that we are enjoying in those countries. Like a lot of those African countries, we have a lot of little military bases in. So there should be, you know, it's a give and take situation. In the art of the deal, everybody wins, right?
Yeah, it looks like a lot of them are 40% or 50%.
Yeah. But here's the one thing, though. I mean, when, you know, Donald Trump, if they read his book,
yeah,
then
they'll understand.
Then they know the best thing to do is come down and find a win. Because Donald Trump's about everybody winning. It's not just about I don't care what the lamestream media says.
No.
I know they're always saying, "Oh, Donald Trump's about Donald Trump."
No.
Donald Trump's about more money. If Donald Trump was about more money, he wouldn't be president of the United States.
Let's be fair. We're all about ourselves, regardless. That's everybody. Everybody's about themselves.
That's human nature. Yeah.
That's human nature. So how are you going to... Do you think the guy's not human or something?
I mean, honestly, I mean, it seems like everybody who meets him personally loves the guy.
Right.
I mean, that's the bottom line, dude. People who meet him and get to know him, they can't help themselves. They like him. And the truth be told, he's the only president we've had since Ronald Reagan. Oh, sorry, I got disconnected.
I hear you still.
Sorry about that, everybody. I got disconnected. My bad. But he's the first president since Ronald Reagan who's really, literally put America first.
Right. So, you know, everybody cried about the stock market, how the stock market crashed, stock market this, but we also got to see the stock market go up this morning.
Yes,
so
it did.
I'm confused as to what these people thought was really going on. Why they thought the stock market was just going to crash. When we all know what these billionaires and they did, they took their money and they hid it for a minute just to see what the stock market was going to do. And then when they realized it wasn't going completely down, they're like, okay, we're going to start putting our money back into it. Come on, people.
That's pretty much what they did.
You guys
and those who held out were okay when they woke up this morning, and those who sold and those who panicked sold yesterday. See, unlike the billionaires, they could afford to buy it right back the next day. But the everyday Joe Schmo who, you know, works the stock market, if you're a day trader, you probably took a hard hit yesterday.
Yeah.
You panicked and you sold.
Yeah.
But if you were a passive trader like I am, or I kind of just, for me, it's an investment plan for my retirement. So that's how I treat it. So I don't panic and I don't like whatever. It's going to go up. It's going to go down. It's going to go up. It's going to go down, up and down, up and down, up and down. That's what it does. So,
right, for sure.
If you were a day trader, you probably took a punch in the gut yesterday, and I'm sorry about your luck.
Yeah.
But if that did happen, I hope you were putting your money back in this morning right before it went back up, because otherwise you lost. But that was on you. I mean, I kept my money in there.
Yeah, for sure.
Anything. I woke up this morning, it was what it was Sunday morning.
So let's see why they said why I decided to take them up.
No, you make the point that you need to know the end game in order to make a call or have a view on earnings or the economy. Problem is, nobody knows the end game. So how much do you read into today's market rebound, for instance?
Not much. I mean, I think yesterday, we were spending most of the day, reviewing inputs from our desk, watching for signs of capitulation. And one of the things that's quite interesting is while it seems like we got some capitulation, some deleveraging, quote unquote, degrossing by the institutional community, by the hedge fund communities, what's been, quite surprising, I think, to us is that private clients and some of our investors have continued to be buy the dip investors. And so while we certainly got to oversold conditions yesterday, we don't think that we're at a point of capitulation or a point where the Larry Summers scenario of an actual recession, which is a non-zero possibility, gets discounted. We think that that point would come where, markets and the S&P 500 could fall as much as to 4,600. Now, we're not making that call right here, but we do think that your point at the top of this block, that volatility is here to stay, is the right one. And I don't know that today's move has a lot of legs underneath it other than people just trading the book on oversold conditions.
So, Lisa, how do you think about a Trump put or a Fed put? Nobody knows anything when it comes to policy, but is there a pain point at which you would expect or you might expect or you could reasonably expect some kind of intervention?
So, look, I think that's one of the issues that investors have had to grapple with, is that unfortunately, as 2025 has rolled out, both the Fed put and the fiscal or Trump put has been removed. The Fed has been making clear, really since their first meeting in January, that they are focused on the data, they're focused on patience, they don't see urgency, and they want to be mindful and watchful for inflation, and obviously this tariff data makes it.
But isn't that any time? Don't they want to be wary of everything just because it's a gamble?
Yeah. Here's a little something while we were watching that I kind of looked up real quick that I find very interesting. Morgan Stanley, in their profile, they donate approximately $1.3 million a year to the Democratic Party.
Okay, so she's definitely
she is definitely
a shill.
She is, yeah, and they do donate about $800,000 a year to Republicans, but I'm sure those are Rhino Republicans only.
Isn't it funny because it just seems like she was just fear mongering the whole time, and we didn't even have to.
Of course she was, and then here the whole time, all you gotta do, and I googled this, by the way, I just googled it. Morgan Stanley gives the Democrats about $1.3 million a year in donations per year to the politicians.
Yeah, so she's definitely a show.
And rhinos, which rhinos and Democrats under this issue are pretty much the same thing.
For sure. So
yeah, they're protecting their investment in Washington D.C., not their investments for their portfolios because again. Why these people are cheering on, a destruction of the stock market is beyond me.
Yeah.
Because all these state employees and all these federal employees, their retirement funds are based on a lot of these companies.
Doing good.
Tesla didn't go down 225% because of the tariffs.
No, it went down because of
America.
It went down because of these
all their products here.
Yeah, it went down because of these libtards.
They went down because the same people whose investment and retirement plans depend on Tesla as a stock were the same people like Tampon Timmy standing out there saying, I got it on my app. I got it on my app. 225%. I wake up to it every morning. The fucking guy's a clown. Tampon Timmy.
So the thing I'm taking away from all this is don't just like right away sell. Pay attention a little bit. Things are going to go up and down. If things go down, just take your time. Take a day off from trading. Go back to it. If you would have waited, you would have seen that you wouldn't have really lost that much money.
And here's my advice. They should have bought on the dip.
Yeah.
You know, but buy on the dip, man.
Well, that's the point. That's the whole.
The best thing that could have happened to retirement investors yesterday was that drop. Because now, take that same amount of money that you've been investing, it's now buying you more.
Exactly. It's just it's people just lack common sense when it comes to things like this, which it's fine, whatever. It happens.
Numbers don't lie, people. Numbers don't lie.
The tariffs are going to help us in the long run. People don't.
Dude, they're gonna.
People think that it's going to ruin our country and it's going to make it to where everybody no, it's going to make it to where countries are going to say, okay, we're going to negotiate with the U.S. now.
Do you know what
and we're going to try and make things right.
The most prosperous time in American history, and this also includes the panic of the 1890s that took place. There was an economic panic in the 1890s. A lot of folks don't know about that. But there was. You know, everything was crashing. But from the 1870s to 1913 was the most prosperous for our manufacturing, for our industries, for our transportation, for cars, for everything that we built in it. And you know why? Because we had tariffs. That's why. And as soon as we switched that out for an income tax, it basically became a road and a path to, at some point, deficit.
Right. Okay, so
that's where it led. That's where it led.
We're gonna end it on this one. This isn't really political, but we just felt like the need to talk about this.
This affects us in Ohio, y'all.
Yeah, so about I think it was 2 days ago. The Ohio River flooded Cincinnati, and
it crested at 60 feet.
This when did you say the last time this happened? Was in the 50s,
well,
right?
The last time it was this. Well, it's happened. It happened in 2018.
Okay,
but it didn't get so flooded that all of downtown was under 10 feet of water.
Right.
There certainly weren't homes underwater. It did happen in 1987.
87. Okay.
87, but in 1937 was the worst flooding where when it crested the 60 feet, it just kept going for like a week of rain and water, and it buried the Queen City and pretty much most of southern Ohio and northern Kentucky, all by the Ohio River and the Mississippi River. And let's not forget about the other river that's down there too. There's another one down there that the Maumee River that runs alongside it. You know, the Maumee River runs down the western part of Ohio.
Right.
So you have that western part of Ohio, and then the, and the Ohio River. They all lead to the Mississippi.
Right.
So the bottom line is, this is the worst it's been since 1937.
All right, let's check this out.
In the downtown Cincinnati and Covington area, parts of the riverfront are now underwater. The Licking River is now expected to reach 39.5 feet by 8 p.m. And WCPO News reporter Deja Gross is live in Covington. And Deja, you found out the city encouraged some residents to leave their homes right now.
Yeah, Brett. Well, right now we are on Church Street in Taylor Mill, and some homes behind me are completely surrounded by water. We actually had 2 Taylor Mill police officers come down the street to do a welfare check on residents, and he told me that some are doing okay, but I'm gonna step out of the frame here because this house all the way to the back, there were some residents that actually just left a couple of minutes ago, but their backyards are completely...
Wow, look at that. That's terrible.
Dude, it's actually worse today.
Yeah.
The video from Nature's Damage that they showed with those were people boating in downtown Cincinnati.
Yeah. Let's check that out.
Think about that.
Look at this.
Yeah, look at that.
Look at this, guys.
Downtown Cincinnati.
This is downtown Cincinnati.
Houses.
Look at
Well, it's right outside of downtown.
Downtown Cincinnati is experiencing flooding as the Ohio River reached above 60 feet on Monday, the highest in more than 28 years. After days of heavy rain and severe thunderstorms over the Ohio, Mississippi, and Tennessee valleys, the Ohio River in Cincinnati and Louisville, Kentucky, are among the more than 100...
Look how fast the current is on that.
That's what I'm saying. Look how fast it destroys that cage. Just watch. They're going to show you in like
40
10
river
seconds.
Locations experiencing moderate to major flooding. Cincinnati received nearly 5 inches of rain from Wednesday to Sunday, according to the National Weather Service in Wilmington.
Bro, this is wild.
It's insane. I just want to say our thoughts and prayers are out with our brothers and sisters down in Kentucky and Southern Ohio. We got your back.
Bro, my friend's family lives in Cincinnati. I hope they're all right.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of people had to evacuate, and they're going to come home to homes that are gone, or some of these homes are going to float down the river, dude. They're going to break the foundations. So our hearts and our thoughts and our prayers go out to the people of Cincinnati.
Man,
we love you down in the Queen City. Just know Ohio's got your back.
Ohio. Although the rain has come to an end, flooding impacts will continue this week as floodwaters flow into streams and rivers, likely causing more flooding.
That's wild.
The last time the Ohio River in Cincinnati surpassed 60 feet was February 26, 2018. However, it's nowhere near the record high of 80 feet during the 1937 flooding.
80 feet is wild.
I know, isn't that insane, dude? Imagine that back then too, man.
Dude, 80 feet? It's like 16 of me stacked on top of each other.
Dude, that's as tall as that. That's tall. That's almost as tall as the tree out in front of my house, that tulip tree.
That's wild.
Which is 100 feet.
That's wild.
On Monday, river levels of 60.5 3 feet beat the 2018 level by 1/100th of an inch. 60.53 inches.
60 feet?
Yeah, it's insane, dude. That's what that river. I mean, you got to look at how low that river normally is. You know what I mean? When you're looking at something that big against its grain, you don't think much of it.
Bro, that's insane.
But when that water's coming over those edges and it's coming fast and it's flowing with the current too, so
bro, that is insane.
I just hope God,
yeah, looks out for the state.
Puts an end to it fast, and let's like I said, our hearts go out to you in the Queen City, y'all.
Fox Forecast Center said the river is at 60.59 feet before it's expected to crest later on Monday. If the Ohio River reaches 60.60 feet, it will tie a 1936 record.
Wow. Dang.
At 60 feet, the NWS said significant flooding is possible in East End, California, and New Richmond, Ohio. Backwater floods could also affect Silver Grove, Kentucky, and riverfront buildings in Aurora, Indiana.
That's wild.
According to the Ohio Department...
Man, think about it. This is in Ohio, bro. That's crazy.
Yeah. Isn't it insane?
Nuts, dude. I hope that they all get their stuff together and everything's nothing gets too terrible, but it seems like these cities might need to be rebuilt.
There's going to be a lot of damage and a lot of stuff that does need to rebuild, and I hope FEMA does the right thing and gets down there right away. Let's not do to Southern Ohio what Joey B did to the people of North Carolina last year.
Well, we could just say a bunch of illegals live in Cincinnati and maybe they'll send money their way.
Well, fortunately, they're not in charge of the purse strings anymore. So
yeah, luckily.
Let's do the right thing and let's get this rebuilt and fixed as fast as we can. And may the Lord bless Cincinnati with some grace and understanding. And hopefully this comes to an end real soon for them.
Yes. All right. And on that note, guys, I think we're going to end it. I really appreciate everybody stopping by, all the love and support we get. If you haven't yet, please make sure to hit the like, hit the share, hit the subscribe, hit the notification. I'd like to thank my family. I'd like to thank my boy Double D right here. And most importantly, I'd love to thank God, because without him, none of this is possible.
And as always, Bird, thank you. Thank our audience, but most importantly, my Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ. And on that, good night, y'all.
Have a good one, everybody. Peace.